Now, why do so many people believe evolution is true? I mentioned before that I believe most people believe it because most intelligent people believe evolution is true because they've been told that most intelligent people believe evolution is true. Right. So people want to be part of the crowd. They want to believe what they think the smart people believe. But 200 years ago, so that is the reason why I think most people believe in evolution, is just because that's what they've been told.
Right.
But there is another reason, and one of the main reasons is people who don't want there to be a God, atheism. 200 years ago, they were doing experiments on what's known as spontaneous generation, and basically what that is they believed that if you threw some rice and some smelly rags in the corner and left it for a few days, you could move the rags and there would be some mice there. And they would think, oh wow, that's how you make mice from scratch. They thought that was the recipe to make mice, right? Rags plus rice
equals mice.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what spontaneous generation is. The person who disproved that, among others, was Louis Pasteur. You've heard of Louis Pasteur for pasteurizing your milk, and that Louis Pasteur did a very simple experiment, which I won't go into the details of, but he said, never will the doctrine of spontaneous generation recover from the mortal blow struck by this simple experiment. But if you're an evolutionist and you're trying to believe that God did not start the process, then you must still believe in spontaneous generation. And this is why I'm going to show you this quote that I think is very, very enlightening. There's a man named George Wald who happens to have passed away a few years ago, but I'm going to read a quote from him that's in my book, and I show it quite often as being probably my favorite quote from the entire book. He says, "There are only two possibilities as to how life arose. One is spontaneous generation arising to evolution. The other is a supernatural creative act of God. There is no third possibility." Now, so far I agree with him. But then he goes on to say, spontaneous generation, that life arose from non-living matter, was scientifically disproved 120 years ago by Louis Pasteur and others. That leaves us with the only possible conclusion that life arose as a supernatural creative act of God. So far I still agree with him. But
Sure.
this is where things get a little crazy. Listen to what he said after that. He says, and this was in Scientific American magazine in 1954, he said, "I will not accept that philosophically because I do not want to believe in God. Therefore, I choose to believe in that which I know is scientifically impossible. Spontaneous generation arising to evolution." So here I tell you, Bill, we have a Nobel Prize winning scientist, Nobel Prize winning for medicine, saying, I'm choosing to believe in something that
is impossible.
I know is scientifically impossible because I don't want there to be a God. I don't want to believe in God. And I say, you can't say it any plainer than that. The Bible tells us that people who don't believe in God are willingly ignorant. It says, the fool says in his heart there is no God in Psalms 14:1 and 53:1. It's repeated twice. So I think God thinks that's a very important verse. It's actually repeated twice. The fool says in his heart there is no God.